How's it going, guys? So it looks like this proposed Canelo Alvarez Chavez Jr. fight has been official, and it's going to be taking place in Texas on May the 6th. Now, let's be as blunt and as honest about this as possible, guys. This fight really doesn't need much of a breakdown, and there's one reason for that. This fight is a mismatch. When I say mismatch, I mean a gross and disgusting mismatch. Canelo Alvarez is going to beat the life out of Chavez Jr. and he'll probably end Chavez Jr.'s career. We're gonna see Chavez Jr. get brutalized in this fight. If he doesn't get knocked out, he's gonna get a serious beating. It's gonna be a similar beating that he sustained against Sergio Martinez. However, it's probably gonna be worse because he's a lot more punch drunk at this point, Chavez Jr. is, than he was when he went into the Martinez fight. At least for the Martinez fight, he had an unbeaten record officially, and a little bit more ambition back then. Nowadays, Chavez Jr. is, he's been exposed for what he is, and that's a complete and utter hype job. I mean, let's talk about Chavez Jr.'s resume, for example. Now, I don't have his record in front of me right now. I'm just going off by memory. Chavez Jr.'s first attempt at a world title, he got a shot at the WBC title, which was dubiously stripped from Sergio Martinez at the time. And he got to fight for the title vacant. I believe it was against Sebastian Zabik from Germany. And Sebastian Zabik basically came over and beat the absolute shit out of Chavez Jr. It wasn't even a fight. It was a very one-sided, very easy fight for Sebastian Zabik. He dominated the fight. He won the fight clearly. And, he landed hundreds of punches and just beat Chavez Jr.'s head in for 12 rounds. And then, of course, they gave Chavez Jr. a majority decision victory, with the fight being in America. And with Chavez Jr. being the A side, there was no reason that Zabik could get a decision against him. After that, he faced, I believe it was it Peter Manfredo he faced after that? I think it was Peter Manfredo. And I have a short clip on my channel exposing the corruption that went on in that fight. The infamous referee Lawrence Cole was the man involved in that fight. That fight was in Texas, by the way. Chavez Jr. was basically getting a boxing lesson off of Peter Manfredo. Manfredo was schooling him. He broke Chavez Jr.'s nose. He was outboxing him. He was landing clean punches. And then in the 5th round, what happened was Chavez Jr. managed to stagger Manfredo and get him up against the ropes. Now, Manfredo was hurt. There's no doubt about that, but he still had his faculties about him. He was still in there mentally. He wasn't a beaten man yet. He was still... he still had his wits about him. He was avoiding punches. He had his hands up. He was moving his head. And Chavez Jr. was really getting desperate in there, and he was letting his hands go. He was emptying the tank, trying to get the stoppage. And of course, when Peter Manfredo managed to successfully clinch and avoid the onslaught and managed to get through it, as a smart veteran fighter does, Lawrence Cole, of course, jumped in there and immediately stopped the fight and gifted Chavez Jr. a technical knockout victory, basically saving Chavez Jr. from a defeat. That's what happened in that fight. If you don't believe me, go and watch it. And in fact, on my channel, I've got a short slow motion clip of the stoppage of that fight, and you can see Chavez Jr. doesn't even land a single clean punch in that combination, and he even drops his hands from pure exhaustion right before the fight is stopped. So yeah, Lawrence Cole, he saved Chavez Jr.'s career in that fight. He saved him from a stoppage defeat. I believe that Chavez Jr. was completely out of gas. His nose was broken. And I think he would have got stopped in the later rounds of that fight. I honestly do. If he wasn't stopped, he would have been comprehensively beaten on points. And so the referee saved him there. Then, of course, we found out that the judges actually had Chavez Jr. winning the fight. Again, it's just... you're starting to see a pattern here, guys. It's basically a career that is built on corruption, this guy. So, yeah, he went on. He had a fight against Andy Lee. I think before then he fought Rubio. He had a very close back-and-forth fight with Rubio, which was very difficult. The same Rubio that Gennady Golovkin blew away with a single punch in the 2nd round. Went 12 rounds with Chavez and gave him all kinds of problems. And then, of course, he went on to fight Andy Lee. Andy Lee, who was in good shape for the fight. He was well prepared. That was considered his biggest test yet. And Andy Lee ended up fighting a cruiserweight that night. I mean, Chavez Jr., he, in addition to cheating the scales, basically what happened there was Chavez Jr. turned up to the weigh-in looking like a fucking heroin addict. He was pure skinny and, looked as if he was completely drained of weight. And then went into the fight looking like the juggernaut. I mean, the guy was it was like a different guy. The guy that went into the ring could have eaten the guy that was at the weigh-in. It was fucking disgraceful. I mean, I don't know what drugs they pumped up in him that day, but he was definitely on something. I mean, the amount of steroids he was pumped up on, guys, it's fucking incredible. I've never seen a fighter gain so much fucking bulk and so much muscle in the space of 24 hours. I mean, his shoulders and his traps and his forearms were so much bigger than they were at the weigh-in. It was crazy. So yeah, Andy Lee ended up fighting a cruiserweight and ended up getting stopped. Just the sheer strength and power of Chavez was too much for Andy Lee, and he ended up getting stopped. Then I believe it was the Martinez fight after that. I think Martinez was the next guy that he fought. And Martinez beat the shit out of him for 11.5 rounds, and then obviously ended up getting dropped in the 12th round when he just ran out of gas. Martinez was an old man at that point. He was in his late 30s. He was very injury prone. He'd had back injuries, arm injuries, elbow injuries, shoulder injuries. I mean, the guy was very injury prone. And I believe his knee popped midway through the fight. And then in the last round, he just could not pull the trigger anymore. And he ended up getting dropped. But still won the fight clearly. You know, Chavez Jr., after that fight, he ended up looking like a rotten peach or a rotten mango or something. His face was all smashed to pieces. He just got an absolute fucking battering the whole fight, except that last round. So, yeah, you know, you look at Chavez Jr.'s record. He should have several losses already. I mean, the guy that beat him the first time, Sebastian Zabik, and then got robbed against him. In his very next fight, he got fucking pulverized by Felix Sturm. And it's funny to me, I remember back then debating with people. People try to tell me that Chavez Jr. would have beaten Felix Sturm. I'm telling you right now, Felix Sturm would have battered the fuck out of Chavez Jr. if that fight had happened. He would have stopped him. I have no doubt about that. Felix Sturm would have stopped Chavez Jr. And yeah, you know, Chavez Jr., he just has a record that is basically fraudulent. He should have at least 4 losses. I mean, he also lost to Carlos Molina early in his career, where he got given a draw. If you go and look at that fight, that was a clear defeat. I haven't seen the second fight between them, but I've seen the first fight, and Carlos Molina won every round of that fight easily. And yeah, the judges bailed Chavez out and gave him a draw. He also lost the first fight against Brian Vera. The first fight against Brian Vera was a clear win for Brian Vera, and they robbed him on the cards. Chavez took a heck of a lot of punishment. Then he did better in the rematch. He had a rematch with Brian Vera, and I thought he won the rematch. But, you know, even so, I felt that Brian Vera still gave him a lot of issues in that rematch. I mean, Brian Vera is basically a high-level journeyman. I mean, if you can't get rid of a fighter like Brian Vera, you're really not a world-class fighter. So, yeah, you know, Chavez Jr. to me, again, just his record is fraudulent. Okay, don't look at his record and think, oh, he's only got a couple of losses, so you know he's a credible opponent. He's not. He's not a credible opponent here. This is a complete cherry pick. I haven't even talked about his knockout defeat against Andre Funfara. I haven't even got to that yet, and already I'm sounding like I'm fucking destroying this guy's resume, and I suppose I am, because his resume is completely fraudulent. You know, Chavez Jr., he's a punching bag. The guy's a fucking punching bag. I mean, tell me one thing about Chavez Jr. that makes him any better than someone like Brandon Rios. I mean, there really isn't anything, is there? So yeah, this is a very one-sided fight. Canelo's left hook is going to be hitting Chavez Jr. in the face all night. I'm telling you, Canelo, all he has to do here is lead off with a left hook all night, and he'll win this fight. If he wants to just step back and allow Chavez Jr. to walk into that punch, he can do it any time. God help Chavez Jr., man, if Canelo decides to go to the body, because one of Chavez Jr.'s issues is his conditioning. You know, he's always had problems with his stamina, and in this fight, since this fight is supposedly going to be at a catch weight of 165 pounds, which I think it's been a while since Chavez weighed anywhere near that, because obviously he fought Fonfara at light heavyweight, and I believe, I'm not 100% sure, but I believe his most recent fight against what was that dude's name? The German guy he fought in his last fight. I've completely forgot the guy's name, but I watched the fight on YouTube, and it was a close fight, and he really looked shit in the fight again. I've totally forgot the dude's name, but yeah, it was a German guy, and Chavez Jr. for that fight, I believe that fight was at super middleweight. Correct me if I'm wrong. So it's been a while since he's weighed 165 pounds. I think Memo Heredia will probably get him down to that weight, but he won't get down to it comfortably, because Chavez Jr., is clearly naturally a heck of a lot bigger than that. I mean, the guy's a natural light heavyweight. He could even fight at cruiserweight. Okay, he's a big guy, so I think he's going to struggle to get to 165. Canelo, it's going to be an easy breeze for him. I mean, Canelo is currently able to make 147 with a heck of a lot of 154 with a heck of a lot of difficulty. He's able to make that. So I think moving up to 165, it's going to be easy for Canelo. Okay, he's not going to have any issues. He's going to be a heck of a lot more comfortable, heck of a lot stronger. He's going to have better stamina. He's going to be more durable. He's going to have better punch resistance. So, Canelo's going to be at his best in this fight. And it's funny how Canelo, when he's talked about fighting Triple G, he says, "Oh, I'm not a middleweight. I need the fight to be at 155." But he's going to fight Chavez Jr. at 165. Suddenly, not being a middleweight is not an issue for him, is it? So yeah, fucking crazy, man. I mean, Canelo, he's basically picked Chavez Jr. because he knows it's a fight that it's going to be a lucrative fight because they're going to build it as a big kind of a domestic rivalry between two Mexicans. That always sells. Of course, it's going to sell in Texas. Both guys are very well known in Texas, and yeah, it's a lucrative fight for him, and it's an easy fight. He's going to pulverize him. This is my prediction. I think Chavez Jr. will be stopped by around the 8th or 9th round, unless Canelo decides to allow the fight to go the distance. If Canelo wants to stop this fight, he'll stop this fight. If he doesn't, if he wants to just play it safe and box, he'll win clearly and comfortably on points, and he'll fuck Chavez Jr. up a little bit and just go the distance. But I think it's going to be a stoppage. I think that Canelo really wants to showcase his power here, and I think he's going to pulverize Chavez Jr. I think the body punching, the left hook, the overhand right, everything is going to be on display here, and he's going to pulverize Chavez Jr. and he's going to kill him. Canelo by a late knockout, by about round 8 or 9. That's what I'm going to predict here. So yeah, let me know what you guys think. Fight's a fucking mismatch, let's be honest. I mean, is anybody really giving Chavez Jr. an opportunity to win this fight? Chavez Jr. can't even beat... He can't even beat Sebastian Zabit. How the fuck is he going to beat Canelo? Okay, he can't even beat Brian Vera conclusively. And yet he's going to fight Canelo. Come on, guys, this is a mismatch. Let me know what you guys think. Canelo fanboys and Chavez fanboys are going to be pissed off by this video. I don't care. Thanks for watching.